as possible. We do have scholarship funding. I will say in full disclosure that because we have been severely financially impacted by the pandemic, as everyone has been, our scholarships are much more limited than they typically are. So we still have them, but just fewer to give out. So we hope to, once things get back to normal, that we'll have that same amount again, but we will have some limited scholarship funding. And so those are, I'd say, the two identifying factors that a lot of people point to. We also are very strong in academics. We partner with the University of Nevada in Reno to accredit our specialty programs, which I'll talk about in a second, so that you're meeting the same standards that your home universities have. And we've been doing this since 1982. So we've, been growing and learning, making a few mistakes, learning from them, changing, adapting, especially recently, like everyone. So we have been around for a long time and hopefully have a lot of, experience to offer. So that's kind of USAC in a nutshell. And these are all of the countries where we have programs. So you'll see, like I said, some Western European countries, Australia, New Zealand, some places that are going to be more popular. Others, maybe like Korea, although Korea, to be honest, is becoming very popular these days. India, Sweden, Uruguay, Poland, some kind of off the beaten path places that you might not have considered as well. So that's just a snapshot of our program locations, as well as virtual. So we do have, now we have virtual internships and classes as well. So in terms of our programs, I just like to explain the two program models because they are slightly different in a few different ways. We have specialty programs and partnership programs. So our specialty programs, that's where about 85% of our students are participating in these programs. And so these are USAC created programs. So at the University of the Basque Country in San Sebastian, Spain, for example. Our program is there on campus. We have classes, in the classrooms there on campus. We have local faculty who are teaching classes for our program. Our staff, we have a resident director who has, I think 2 or 3 assistants who are there on campus, and they are, arranging your housing and your arrival and your field trips and helping you if you have to go to the hospital for something. And they're your support while you're there. There are USAC organized field trips and activities, immersion opportunities, and the classes, although they're taught by local faculty, they are accredited by the University of Nevada in Reno, which is our USAC University of Enrollment or School of Record or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, so those specialty programs are a little bit more supportive. They have they're there if you need them. You can certainly go out and explore, and we encourage you to do that. But we have, staff who are on site, and it's a little bit more of a supportive environment. There's a group flight option. You can travel there with a group and airport pickup, and just kind of more support provided. So we also have partnership programs, and these are essentially direct enroll programs. So we're helping to facilitate your enrollment at the university overseas. And that's what Jared did, actually. And so you can maybe talk about that as well, Jared. But that basically you're enrolled at the university there, your transcript is coming from that university. We don't have staff there on site, so we partner with the study abroad office there on campus. And they, they're the ones who are providing your orientation and helping you set up your schedule, and if they have activities and things that they arrange. But so we're helping from afar, and then you work with the university staff there on site. So Jared, I don't know if you wanted to speak to that aspect of your program at all.
Yeah, of course. So I went with a partnership program, because it felt more right to me. I wanted the chance to go out and meet a lot of different people. I wanted something that was internationally based. And so this was designed as an international summer school. And so I was able to go and see people from all over the world. And so that's what I was looking for. And so I enrolled in Stellenbosch University for the summer. And I took classes that were taught by their professors. The biggest difference between these two is that the specialty, there's a lot more support, but the partnership, you're not losing the support. It's just done by the university itself. So I wasn't going there without support. I had the support of their international student office, and they are the ones that kind of supported me in that. While with the specialty, you'll have a lot more USAC support, but you're still going to have support either way, and it's wonderful no matter what. I think for me, I just wanted to be more directly with the university itself, while with USAC, you are more around other USAC students and the opportunities that USAC provides itself to the students.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to compare the two. And with the specialty programs, they are all at in non-English speaking countries. And since we do focus on medium-sized cities, the universities there may not have, you know, a very extensive curriculum in English, you know, to where you could take enough classes. So that's why we've created these programs versus maybe English speaking countries like South Africa, although not entirely English speaking, but, you know, predominantly, or the UK or Ireland or places like the Netherlands or Korea, where they have so much of the university taught in English anyway. And we can, you know, again, because we focus on affordability, we feel that it doesn't add enough benefit to the experience there to increase the cost by having an office and having staff. And when we can partner with the office, like Jared was saying, on the specialty programs, we do, you know, because you are in classes with other USAC students, we do provide buddy programs. You can join sports organizations or clubs or anything like that, language exchanges, volunteer opportunities. So we do, our staff are really good at helping you get more immersed into the local community, which you can also do, you know, on the partnership programs too. One thing, oh, sorry. Were you gonna say something? Jared?
No, that was not me.
Oh, sorry, okay. On the partnership programs, we do often have a more extensive course offering because if you go to, you know, Stellenbosch University, for example, you have, you know, most of the curriculum. There are some classes taught in Afrikaans, but a lot of it is taught in English. Our specialty programs each tend to have like an academic specialty. So it might be, you know, in Reggio Emilia, Italy, it's education and communication and health studies. And so the classes are all going to be, you know, around those subjects. So they are, you know, a little bit different in that way too. I'll just move on because I know I'm a lot of information. So this is just a list of the specialty programs. So you'll see, with the exception of the England and Ireland summer programs, they're all non-English speaking countries. And then with the partnership programs, they're predominantly English speaking, but again, with, you know, places like Korea or the Netherlands or Sweden or Norway that, actually I need to take Norway off of there, Sweden that, you know, have a vast curriculum in English. What's next? So again, just to kind of breeze through, but maybe Jared, you could, you know, talk about things that you participated in. You know, we do offer field trips and tours and basically with the specialty programs, we include field trips and activities, but there's always some kind of larger tour that is broken out separately so that you have the option of customizing your experience. So if you don't want to spend that $600 on the Vienna Budapest field study in Prague, you don't have to add that on. But if you want to, you can. And then the other field trips that are included are going to be, you know, a bit more regional, a little bit off the beaten path where you might not, you know, travel on your own. And I already mentioned some of the immersion opportunities and things like that. And we do have internship opportunities as well, now virtual as well, but we have them on site on both kinds of programs. But Jared, I don't know if you wanted to share about how you maybe got involved or things like that.
Yeah, with my program, it was awesome. There were events planned basically almost every single night that I was able to get involved in. There were trips to Cape Town basically every single week. We had the opportunity to, for a weekend away, to kind of a resort area. And there was an optional tour that I ended up doing where I was able to go on the safari tour and go out on that and see elephants and all types of animals, but as well as go hiking in some of these areas because that's what it's part of what South Africa is known for. And so with the field trips, I mean, there was basically something planned all the time. We would go to Cape Town. We would be able to go to a market. We would be able to go to this wine place that they'd make wine, a winery, obviously, and just different types of places where they knew what was around in their area. The office did, and so they made these specific trips for us. But they also included optional programming that we could do as well if we wanted to go ahead and spend the extra money and go on the safari tour for 6 days. Or there was plenty of other options. I think some people went gliding or different stuff, and there's so many different things that you can do.
Yeah. So, you have your classes and your study part of the study abroad, but then you have all of these other activities and opportunities to travel around the country, that you're visiting, or maybe see other countries, or get immersed in the local community. So yeah, lots of fun things to do. Let me keep going. So for the financial side of things, you'll see here, this is just like a sample of some programs where we've added up the program fee, average housing cost, airfare, visa and food, and estimated personal expenses, just to give you an idea of like a total-ish fee for, a certain number of programs, so that you can see that there are some, that are maybe comparable when you add up all of those things at your home university, or may not be so beyond your reach, as you may have imagined. So this, again, is just kind of a sampling. One thing we have on our website, which I'll try to remember to pull up at the end, are interactive budget sheets. And so we really do want you to consider the whole cost, not just our program fee. We are very transparent about, what we're charging versus, or, and all of the other items that you may have. So sorry, I muted myself. That's not very effective. So our program fee includes the bulk of that is the tuition, the field trips and activities, health insurance, our on-site staff, for the specialty programs, transcripts, things like that. And then we always break out the housing separately. So because typically you have a couple options to choose from. And then sometimes you pay that through USAC, sometimes it's on, on site. And then you have your flight and your visa and maybe local transportation, things like that. So when you look at any program on our website, if you're looking at the fees, there's always a link to our interactive budget sheet. And that's a really great tool to map out, all of your costs and compare it to what your costs are at home, and where, you might have to make up some of the difference, or how your scholarships apply, or things like that. Federal financial aid definitely applies. We will accept that. And any scholarships that you can have released. So we will accept any aid or scholarships that your university allows you to take with you. And then we also, like I said, we have scholarships, although in a limited manner at the moment, but those will hopefully be back up to full speed soon. And we do have, payment plans, like deferment options, and installment plans. So we really do, want to work with you and help you make this possible. And we're also, very happy to talk about programs. And if you're looking at one that's maybe beyond your financial reach, could we identify another that has the same classes that would maybe work better, for you financially? So that scholarships email address is not just for talking about scholarships, but that staff member also works with students just to help with financial planning, in general. But Jared, maybe you could explain how you made it work financially.
Yes. And so finances obviously is a struggle for a lot of people right now, especially with being in college itself is expensive. And so for me, whenever I began searching for a program, the interactive budget sheets is something that I used a lot, and a lot of other providers don't have those. So by using this, I was able to compare different programs that I was going to view at. And eventually South Africa, I was like, it's a little bit out of my reach. Can I make it work? And then I started looking at the scholarships that are around. And so for me, I figure out what the total cost was, and I sat down and I saw what it was. And then I reviewed what my federal aid was. I reviewed the scholarships that were around at the USAC level, at my university level, at my department level. And then also with national scholarships, I looked at those and I started applying to those. And eventually the biggest thing for me is that I wasn't sure if I was going to get a scholarship that was going to cover all of it. Instead, I got lots of tinier scholarships that added up and ended up covering almost all of my trip. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is that you need to be kind of planning ahead. Because I went to my education abroad office, I think 2 weeks into being on campus, just to go ahead and start the process and start planning and seeing what programs would work best for me and my major. And so you definitely want to go ahead and start planning. Even if you can't pull the trigger now, you can go ahead and start figuring out what you want and what you're after and what might fit with your program and what you're going for educationally. But definitely start also reaching out and looking at the scholarships, because you might not know what's available in your department until you ask. You might not know what's available until you look and find stuff, because there might be something that's specifically for someone just like you.
Perfectly said. Moving on. You had nothing to add to that, because you said that perfectly. So just some resources that are available to you through USAC. So we have obviously you have your education abroad offices and your own advisors. We also have our program advisors who, are experts in our specific programs. And so they're going to work with you, on any general questions, visas, housing, providing cultural tips to prepare, things like that. Like I said, we have our scholarship advisor who will help you work on scholarship applications, but also financial planning in general. Obviously our website, we also provide students with a past participant list. So if you, emailed me or one of the advisors and said, I'm interested in Stellenbosch, but I'd like to know more about like the student experience, we can send you a list of students who've recently studied abroad there, which I would imagine would include Jared. And then you can reach out to those students. So we're happy to connect you with, alumni. We also have info sessions that we just started this semester. We have 2 every day that are either once a week. We do a USAC 101, which you're kind of doing right now, so you wouldn't really need to do that one again, but then the rest are all program specific. So you can look and see if there's a specific program you're interested in. You could sign up for that virtual info session, and we do record them and send them out. So if you sign up but you can't make it, you'll get a recording afterwards. But those are our program advisors, and often our on-site staff are also in those info sessions. And those are either our resident directors and often the staff at the partnership programs, like Jared was talking about. We've been able to get some of them to participate in those as well. So these are just some resources through USAC. And some new opportunities we have, like I had mentioned, our virtual offerings. So we call it's our online global perspectives program. So it, as we're all adapting to new circumstances, we've developed virtual programming. So we have online courses that are available that you can just take 1 or 2 if you want to supplement what you're doing at home, or a full course load. But what we're seeing mostly are students who, are kind of taking a class here or there that, that they're using to supplement what they're doing at home. Maybe you still have to fulfill a language course. We have some really great virtual language courses with our language professors on site, or maybe you just need to, take a sociology elective and you'd like to take the population and poverty class in India, or whatever it might be. So we have those available. And then we also have virtual internships. So we had our first group over the summer complete virtual internships very successfully. We had wonderful feedback, and we have a group participating for the fall as well. And then we're going to be continuing on in the future. So if you're looking to complete an international internship virtually, we do have those. And then we have a new accelerated spring term. So these are 90-day programs or 89-day programs. So they're like January to March in the locations that are listed here. So in most of those, you won't need a visa because of the timing, but you can still earn, 12 credits. So for some students, it may work to do that for the first half of the semester, and then your university offers accelerated classes for the second half, and you could, complete even more credits. But these programs are typically about 25% cheaper than the full semester programs as well. So it's maybe a more affordable option if you want to go for a bit, longer than a summer program, but you can't necessarily commit to a semester. So that's a new thing we have going on. And in terms of getting started with USAC, if you just wanted to explore a little bit more, this is our website here. And then there's a program finder that pops up on every page. So you can put in, you know, your major, and let's say you're interested in going for the fall, and just sort of filter out what programs will be available. And then when you look at each program, you'll see the courses that are available, you'll see the dates, those interactive budget sheets, the program fees, you know, on-site staff, university information, all of that kind of stuff. And then our general email address right here, where we can answer questions or connect you with, you know, the right person that you're trying to get in touch with, like a program advisor, for example, and the Apply Now button that's on the top of every page. So that is there as well. So those are just some tips for getting started, and also the information sessions that I had mentioned. So I can't even see what time it is. Oh yes, this is the screen I wanted to show. So this has all of your university specific contact information, depending on which university you are attending, their, you know, website, email address, phone, all that sort of stuff. So feel free to take a screenshot or take a picture of that. But I am happy to answer any questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I can't see my clock. So I want to make sure I haven't gone over. But anyway, so that's a very fast overview of USAC programs and what we have to offer. But Jared and I would be happy to answer questions, probably more Jared. You might be more interested in hearing from the student, but yeah, so just let us know if you have any questions. You can either type it in the chat or you can just say it, throw it out there.
Yeah, I got one quick question. So obviously, whenever you go into a foreign country, there's also new diseases that you probably never encountered, and you have to take vaccines and stuff like that. Is that a personal expense or an expense that you have to pay for?
It is. So it is we would tell you which, you know, if you need any vaccines, like if you're going to Ghana, for example, you are required to get the yellow fever vaccine in order to apply for your visa. So that's just one example. So it is listed in those budget sheets as a potential expense, and that would be something you'd have to pay for, you know, on the side. And it really kind of varies depending on the country. Like in, you know, Europe, you don't have any vaccines you have to get. When I went to Thailand to visit our Thailand program, I did have to get a couple, I think typhoid and hepatitis, it might have been those two. But yes, those would be listed in the budget sheet, and we'll also give you information on what you have to do. But that's a good question.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Let's see. How are programs working right now during the pandemic? That's a very good question. So we have had to make, oh, sorry. Did somebody else have a question? Sorry, I heard a voice. So we have had to make some adjustments, obviously, as everyone else. So in most locations where we've had homestays, for example, those are either very limited or just not available, you know, for the spring and most likely for the fall. You know, students are going to be in single rooms, and, you know, we've had to identify quarantine space and adjust classroom space, you know, just like your campuses have, to make sure that there's a large enough space for students to be separated. You know, there are also new measures that we're implementing. We have a required COVID webinar that students have to watch before going abroad. So our health and safety team has put that together and is leading that. And that's just to make sure that you have all of the information and tools that you need to have a safe experience. You will probably, you know, most likely be advised to not travel outside of your host country, which I know affects, you know, a lot of people imagine they're going to go to Europe and they're going to travel to 25 countries. And although that is very exciting, it's not advisable at the moment, just because of how situations are changing and with border issues, you know, and spikes and different things. And so we are encouraging students to, you know, to explore the country that you're visiting rather than traveling, you know, to other countries. So we have information, I can share the link. We have information on our website that we've posted to address, you know, all of these changes and others. And so we'll be continuing to update those practices Here, I'm going to put it in the chat here. I think the important thing to keep in mind is that it isn't going to be the same. Like you just have to accept that, like, if you study abroad, you know, for the spring or the fall, it's not going to be exactly the same as it would have been, you know, had you gone last spring. Does that mean it's not worth it? Absolutely not. It is, you know, definitely still worth it, and you can still have a culturally immersive experience. You can meet new people and make new friends and learn about another culture in another country. And it just might be a little bit different, just like life is, you know, is here right now. So, but anyway, I put that link in the chat, and Jared, you could certainly talk to that too. But that's a link to our website that we're keeping track of everything that's being adjusted for the pandemic. So if that helps. Jared, it looks like there's a question for you. What was the climate temperature like in South Africa when you went, and what was the housing like?
Yes, of course. So I made an interesting decision. I went in the summer because that fit best with my schedule. And so technically it was my summer term. However, it was their winter. So I went there during the winter season, which was our summer season. And so it was probably about between 50 and 60-ish degrees Fahrenheit while I was down there. But it could get colder very easily. Sometimes it was warmer. I remember whenever I was hiking Table Mountain, it started off probably like in the 60s. Then as the higher up I went, it got colder and colder, and I had to keep on putting on more clothes. But however, if you go during a semester, it will be more like our spring and fall, where you start off in the winter and then you work your way towards summer, or vice versa. So it's very similar to what I'm used to in that regard. It is commonly warmer there, but whenever I went, it was their winter season, but it was nowhere as bad as my winter in Kentucky. So that was nice. And then for housing, it depends when you go. In the summer, all of the international students stayed in one building together. So it was a really awesome opportunity to get to know all of these different people. And you were given a roommate from a different country. And so I was given a roommate from Singapore. And so it just depends on where you end up. But for mine, everyone lived in one building. And so it was a great community aspect. But during the semester, usually you do live in more of apartment styles. But yeah, it really depends on what you're after, because there's different opportunities for every single one. I was after more of that community international style.
And every, location has different options. So, in Italy, for example, there are apartments and residences and some homestays. In Costa Rica, it's entirely homestay. In England, it's entirely residence halls. So it just kind of varies. From Meredith, are there required classes I would have to take while studying abroad in the summer, even though they wouldn't be relevant to my major? For the basic answer is you do have to take a class. So on our programs, you have to be enrolled in at least one 3-credit class during the summer. But what type of class you choose and whether that relates to your major or other degree requirements you have is up to you and your academic advisor or your institution, if that makes sense. So we don't have any non-credit opportunities. You do have to be enrolled in at least one 3-credit class over the summer.
Yeah, it does depend on what program you do. For the program that I did, I took 3 classes while I was there. One of them was required by the program. So I did have to take Intro to South African Political History, but that counted for I have a history minor, so that counted in my regards. There are some classes that may be required for you to take as a part of the program, but usually you take those in addition to other classes that are more focused on your major. But those classes are usually to give you a better understanding of the culture and the environment in that country and in that area.
Definitely. Like in Prague, for example, there's a required Intro to Czech class, which may not apply to your major, but it will be helpful to you, in kind of getting around Prague and understanding, the basics. So sorry, I was combining 2 because then there was another question asking if classes are mandatory for participating. And I think I was answering that one a bit more. So yes, they are mandatory for participating. Okay. So classes that would help for pre-med instead of a general class.
Yes.
You can definitely, that's really up to you. So if you want to find a class that relates specifically, you know, to pre-med, if you're pre-med and you want to go, you know, to Thailand and take, you know, a traditional Thai medicine health class, which, you know, may relate in some way versus just taking, you know, an elective, you can do that. It's really up to you.
Yeah.
How you structure it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also pre-med, so I understand that those classes can be kind of difficult to fit everything in, especially with your home university. So there's so many different programs that you can definitely find the correct pre-med or biomedical science class that would fit for you. There are some programs that do have that requirement, but it's only to help you in your time there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and speaking of sciences, that is important to point out that we do, you know, try to accommodate all different majors. So it's not, I know often study abroad is thought of as something, you know, just for language majors or humanities or business, and those are certainly, you know, available, but we have students, you know, pre-med students, engineering, neuroscience, mathematics, physics, you know, we have journalism and advertising, all sorts of different majors. You do have to be flexible, like Jared was saying, and it may be that, you know, you really want to go to Italy, but, you know, you can't find a chemical engineering program, for example. Well, we can certainly recommend other programs that would have chemical engineering. So if you're flexible on location, but we have, you know, a lot of the STEM fields and social sciences and lots of exciting opportunities. Lots of good questions. Any other questions? Jared, what would your thoughts be for someone who's considering studying abroad during the pandemic? I know I have my thoughts that I shared, but.
Well, I actually do plan on studying abroad again this upcoming summer. I think that the biggest consideration is that the providers would not be doing the program if they didn't think it was safe. They don't want someone to get sick. Currently, with everything going on, a lot of other places are healthier in regards to the pandemic than the United States. And so as long as you're willing to go through the hoops to make sure that you are safe before you get there and that you are protecting the people there, then I don't see an issue of trying and going ahead and doing it again. I mean, yeah, you might not be able to, if you go to Europe, you might not be able to backpack across Europe like you were hoping. However, you still get to explore the area that you're in, and the places that you chose this location, you can explore more of that location. As long as you're being careful and that you're making sure that you're taking care of yourself before you go, and that of course you are washing your hands and following the local procedures there, then you should be good. Obviously there could be something happen and there could be a change, but most providers, including USAC, are willing to work with you and making sure that if a program gets canceled, they will work with you. You should not have to go in with worry about something getting canceled because they're more than willing to help with you.
And we did, you know, on the fly have to bring home about 1,500 students and arrange for online classes to help, you know, all of the students continue their coursework. And so we've, you know, that we were kind of building the plane as we were flying it, but we've learned a lot from that and have, you know, we have procedures in place now and backup plans and backup plans for backup plans. So we, you know, we are prepared. Obviously our ultimate goal is to, you know, help you go abroad and keep you abroad. And so we are, you know, like Jared said, we are doing, you know, everything we can to make sure that you have a safe experience, but would certainly not, you know, send you if the situation was unsafe. We would, you know, we just wouldn't do that. Any other questions? I know I've gone over, I apologize for that. couldn't see my clock, so I was trying to talk quickly. But if nobody has any other questions, did the staff from the different universities want to, I don't know if you guys wanted to say anything or you want me to put that slide back up with all the contact information, I can do that as well. Just so everybody has that.
Thank you, Rachel, for your time today. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us. if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us any of the ways listed on the slide.
Yes, thank you. This was fabulous turnout. I'm so excited that you all took the time to attend. So I really thank you for that.
And thank you, Jared, for sharing your story.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to.
Oh yeah, would you mind if I put your email in the chat?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I guess you can do that.
Yeah,
you?
I can.
Okay, I'll let you do that so I don't mess anything up. So if you want to reach out to Jared, he is from EKU, but would be happy to talk to other students from other.
Yes, I am a junior at Eastern Kentucky University. I'm a double major in biomedical science and international affairs. And so I know a lot of tricks to make sure that like studying abroad will fit in with a crazy schedule and crazy class load.
And I'll put mine in there too, just in case you do have any follow-up questions. But thank you for attending.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you to the Kentucky Consortium for participating.
Yeah, I hope you all have a good rest of your study abroad fair week and participate in the rest of the sessions this week. And if you have any questions, just let us know. But enjoy your week and enjoy your day.
Yes, thank you. I'll go ahead and click end. Take care.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.